Hi, everybody. My name is Mayra De Leon. I am, and actually, like I said, everyone's socially distanced, so I can do this. My name is Mayra De Leon. I am the student engagement intern for the Santa Rosa Island Research Station. And thank you for coming to our first speaker series event. This is super exciting. We're testing out some new tech that we're trying to make sure works all smoothly. So thank you for being our guinea pigs of that. And just a quick couple announcements. So our events are happening. We have 6 this semester. And this is the first time we're doing it in person and on Zoom. So super exciting, because then that way we have an audience that can participate online and in person as well. We're at the Islands Cafe patio. We have a couple other really cool speakers that are going to be coming out on the 21st. We have Xiomara Sendejas, who is a current student at CI. She interns for the Santa Barbara Botanical Gardens. She will be speaking on her experiences at CI and also the opportunities she's been able to sort of acquire because of her amazing experiences here at the school. Also, we have Natalie Gula on October 5th, who will be, she's a ceramic artist and an alumni from CI. So she'll be speaking about her trajectory and where she's at now. She spoke last year over Zoom, and now we want to see kind of where she's at 1 year later. I heard she moved to Utah, so that'll be pretty cool. We're going to be streaming everything over Zoom, but we'll also have the screen happening behind us so that if anybody wanted to come on the campus, they can do that and be more than welcome to come eat at the cafe patio. So October 19th, we have John Knapp, and November 2nd, we have Peter Dixon. Now, both of these guys are from the Nature Conservancy, so we're super excited and lucky to have them come and speak as well. And then the last one is going to be November 8th, who is Noah Williams. He's another alumni and then works as the water program coordinator for the Paiute tribe up in the Owens Valley, which is really exciting because, again, we get to learn about all these different perspectives, right? We're all connected here at CI. So
why don't you remind people where the Islands Cafe is?
Yes, so the Islands Cafe is here. It's right behind Bell Tower. The Islands Cafe is auxiliary services. So we're in the South Quad. And if you're unfamiliar with the campus, the Go CI app from the university is a great resource because they will have an entire map of the campus and kind of show you where that is. So yeah, definitely join us in Zoom or in person, all good to go. So for today, we have Russ Bradley. He is the director for the Santa Rosa Island Research Station. I'm super excited to have him be our first speaker, and he'll take it away. So let's welcome Russ. And if you guys have questions at any point in time, let us know, maybe like raise your hand on Zoom or put it in the chat. And then at the end, we're going to have a quick Q&A. And then that way we can get your questions answered that way. So welcome, Russ. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Myra. So I'm going to stand right here and we'll just make sure that everyone can see the screen or really see that if you're on Zoom, you see the presentation in there and that everyone can hear me all right. And so we'll just give one brief opportunity if anyone has any issues to go ahead and bring those up. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and get started. Looking good? Okay, excellent. So as Myra said, my name is Russ Bradley. I am the director of the research station for Cal State Channel Islands out on Santa Rosa Island. And what I'm going to be talking to you today is a little bit about the Channel Islands themselves, our research station program there. And then I'm going to talk a little about myself and my own kind of sort of career journey and how I've wound up in this field and my experience as a working biologist and scientist and some of the lessons learned that I've found along the way. So we have a view here of Santa Cruz Island from Santa Rosa to start us out here. So go ahead and move me to the next slide there, Myra. So Channel Islands National Park is this really truly unique national park that is, for me, I think the key things to point out is that it's a global biodiversity hotspot. So diversity of habitats and species are paralleled by few places worldwide. And also that this diversity has supported more than 13,000 years of permanent human occupation by a huge variety of groups, a very long extended indigenous occupation, but very, very important ranching history, commercial fishing history, military history, and many other elements of human history. So these incredible natural places have been shaped by people for a very, very long time. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And so we're out in the water here. We talk about the Channel Islands National Park. And that encompasses 5 islands and their unique natural and cultural resources. So we tend to try to do this more interactive when we have more folks in person, but we are looking today at talking about the Channel Islands National Park, which is the 4 northern Channel Islands. And so there's this very large outline that you see as well, which is actually not the current islands. The islands we have right now are San Miguel, Santa Rosa, Santa Cruz, and Anacapa. But the large outline that you see before was actually under previous climate conditions when sea levels were different. All these islands were one island. And so that's what we call this, or what was called the Santa Rosea. So really a neat reminder that these places have changed throughout time. But that's the current element of the park. And we are looking at the cliffs here out on Santa Rosa Island. We just have a few facts about the park, so you can go ahead. So sometimes people refer to the Channel Islands as the North American Galapagos. And the Galapagos have many unique species that are only found on those islands. The Channel Islands have over 150 what's called endemic species that are only found on the Channel Islands. Go ahead. This park is pretty incredible too, because it is within 60 miles of 18 million people. But it's also home to this incredible amount of undeveloped coastline. And it is an amazing habitat. We have unique animal species on the islands now, like the foxes. They're the smallest North American canids, are about the size of a house cat. And they're only found in the Channel Islands, and actually they vary. There's different subspecies of foxes on the different islands. And there are also in the waters around the Channel Islands, we have a national marine sanctuary. And we have these protected areas, and we also have big concentrations of some very important species, such as the blue whales, the largest animals to have ever lived. And they're found in some of the largest concentrations in the world in the late summer and fall around the Channel Islands. So the park has many endangered species, many more than other national parks. And the survival of these species is really dependent on this protection from the national park. So you can go ahead. Santa Rosa Island is unique. These are some of the Torrey pines on Santa Rosa Island. We just have a few Santa Rosa Island fun facts here in the presentation. The island has its own species of fox endemic to Santa Rosa. There are 6 island endemic plant species like these Torrey pines. The islands, the Channel Islands, are home to very unique species. The pygmy mammoths, which are the giant woolly mammoths, swam to the Channel Islands, and through evolution, part of something that happens a lot on islands, became smaller in size. And so there were these mammoths that were 5 feet tall and 8 feet long present on Santa Rosa, and some fully intact skeletons have been found. Human settlement dates back to over 13,000 years ago. And again, there's many marine species that feed and breed around the islands. The indigenous name of Santa Rosa Island from the Chumash people is called Wima, W-I-M-A, which means driftwood, which was an important resource for those people on the islands. So we can go ahead, Myra, and so that's just a little bit of background on the park, and we'll talk about the Santa Rosa Island Research Station, the program here. So this program was started in 2014 under the direction of the previous director, the late Claude Hanna, and we support natural and cultural resource research and education. We look to build inquiry-centered educational partnerships, engage stakeholders in discovery and dissemination of information, try to inspire and transform our participants, society in general, promote the stewardship of resources, and encourage a broad sharing of interdisciplinary knowledge. And there are only about 10 of these university-run research stations within national parks in the United States. So I think it's extraordinary and amazing that the youngest and smallest of the CSU system has one of these programs. So what resources do we have? And part of this is letting folks know what the state, what is available with the station and how we interact with other programs on campus. So go ahead. From a physical standpoint, we have facilities at the research station. We operate under a cooperative agreement with the National Park Service. So we utilize this bunkhouse facility, which has sleeping accommodations for up to 36 individuals. We can't support that right now. I'll talk a little bit about it, but then hopefully very soon we'll be back to that. We've got a bunkhouse, 10 cabins. There's a laboratory facility, with field equipment, room for researchers, and such. And here's some photographs of our laboratory, of our bunkhouse, and of the kitchen area in the station. So you can go ahead. And so just in terms of what programs we offer, the research station, which we call SRIRS, is a really unique microcosm of the university situated within a remote island setting. So we are our own department within the university. And so we serve many different disciplines. We support curriculum and research activities of numerous academic programs and majors at CI and also at other institutions as well. And we offer our own educational and outreach programming, including middle school and high school programming on islands. And we operate this unique physical campus and provide all the logistical support for that. So you can go ahead to the next slide. And so since this slide's a bit old, it doesn't include past 2019, but there's been a lot of use of the station. So at that point, it's 22,000, now it's over 25,000 of these user days, which are a day of a person on the island. And you can see the list of all the different programs that's supported. And while it supports a lot of what folks might think of as traditional disciplines for a station like this, such as anthropology, such as biology, and environmental science, we've also supported a lot of programs from physics to chemistry to Chicanic studies to art to the arts, and we definitely have a very interdisciplinary approach. Go ahead. And so I have a few pictures here of just, can you go back, Myra? Of some of the scenes on the island. These are some students walking on a spring day, a particularly windy day, out doing some field work and back toward the research station here in what we call the Betchers Bay area. It's close to where the boat comes in on the pier. You can go ahead. This is a group, I think, of environmental science students who are learning some protocols for a monitoring study that we're about to conduct. Go ahead. This is a unique thing. This is a physics professor, Greg Wood, and his some of his students who helped set up some new telescopes and astronomy equipment that we have at the island. One of the unique things about the island is that when it's really dark, it's free from a lot of mainland light pollution. So it's an opportunity for visitors and students to see the Milky Way and the stars in a way that many have not before, which is always a really exciting thing. So you can go ahead. We support research across a wide spectrum, looking at long-term data, at water quality, at a variety of sort of environmental and biological research and anthropological research and marine debris studies and a lot of different research, most of it in collaboration with partners such as the National Park Service and some of the other management agencies that we work with, like the U.S. Geological Survey. Up one more. And so what does research look like? And it looks like you. It looks like a variety of different students who have worked on interdisciplinary. These are a lot of students who have worked on capstone projects on the island. From the left, we have Ralph, who looked at microplastics in the air around the station. We have students who worked on some of these large tree population projects at the island. Work with remotely operated vehicles in the ocean, a lot of vegetation monitoring, and even students from our art department who who worked to use inspiration and textures from the islands to incorporate that into this project. Where developed this huge dishware set that we use and that we eat off every day on the island, and it's art students' work inspired by the island itself. So there's a wide variety of research, and you can go ahead. I think I have a slide in here that talks about, well, how has the research station been affected by COVID-19? And so the program really had been stabilizing and growing pre-COVID. We had 4 staff for the first time ever. Our station activities were very limited since March 2000. We have to abide by the regulations of both the university and the National Park Service as well. You know, we have a lot of oversight we have to comply with there. And basically, what's happening this fall is that most of our in-person operations are going to be day trips and you know, some limited density overnight trips, but we are present here on campus. We have these programs. We have our office over in Madeira Hall, right adjacent to the large mural on the library side of campus, where we have staff there every day. In come spring, we are hopefully able to transition back to one of our full density programs with more higher density overnight trips. And then there are also going to be a lot of opportunities this summer for actually some intensive class programs that we are running on the islands. We're going to have more outreach on that soon in general, and we'll have Myra tell you about that in these student committee meetings as well. So I think, yeah, this was, I think, sort of one of the last slides here. These are a bunch of ESRM students from a couple of years ago. We're coming back from a long-term monitoring project, and they're sort of walking their way toward the future, which is what we hope to be doing in a very positive way going forward for the research station. So in terms of the kind of little intro into the Channel Islands and the research station, that's it for some of that part of the presentation. So if there's anyone who had any specific questions on that, you could go ahead and throw them into the chat. We can answer those, and after that, I'll move into the, you know, my part, talking just about sort of my own journey here. So see if anything pops up. You could raise your hand too if you wanted to actually ask the question. What's that? Yeah, excellent. How are we here with technical? Yeah. Okay. So any questions on that that I covered so far? All right, so we can probably move to the next part of the presentation. So you just go one slide at a time.
Perfect.
So talk a bit about myself. My name is Russ Bradley again, and talk a bit about kind of my own journey and sort of how I got here, and maybe some things that might be of interest to students. So you can go ahead here, and we start with sort of where I started, which should be, there should be a little animate or just a little star that pops up. So this is where I'm from. I'm actually from Canada. I'm from Vancouver Island, which is in the southwestern part of Canada, right on the ocean. And so that's kind of where I come from. And then if you go to the next slide, this is kind of sort of my initial sort of inspiration. This is me. I'm on the furthest on the right. This is my brother and my sister. And here we are at the beach, and we've been snorkeling, and we were in the ocean. And so I had that opportunity as a kid to just grow up right adjacent to the ocean. I was passionate about marine biology. It was something that that I really wanted to explore in my life. And I think that's one sort of lesson, is that whatever you wind up pursuing, that passion is definitely going to help. And it definitely did for me. And then I sort of grew up, I went to school. I was really sort of trying to pursue that, and that there are a few opportunities that came up that were very key. So if you go to the next slide. So this may be a bit out of focus, but this is from 1997. And this is me and my cohort at a intensive semester fall program at a place called the Banfield Marine Station. Now it's called the Banfield Marine Sciences Center. That's on the west coast of Vancouver Island. And so I took a full 15 credits in my senior year As part of the programming that this marine station, which is run by the 5 Western Canadian universities, takes part in. So that's me on the bottom left down there, looking pretty young compared to now, but this was an eye-opening experience for me. This was an experience that made me realize, yeah, I really do want to stay in science. There were 24 students. We were there for 4 months, and we had this real, powerful experience where we were learning in the classroom and we were learning in the field as well, in an absolutely beautiful area. And so that's one kind of real takeaway for me too, is that people who are interested in these types of fields, getting that sort of field experience early on can be very valuable. So you go to the next slide. Another part of the program that, in terms of my undergraduate program that was really key, this is the school I went to. It's called Simon Fraser University. It's just outside of Vancouver. This is the website from what they call their cooperative education program. And what that was there was adding an additional year to a degree where in many different fields, and I was in the environmental and biology field, you would work for paid work terms. And that was extraordinary. And it really helped lay the groundwork for the other opportunities that I was able to pursue and be successful in. So I get my degree, took an extra year, and I worked on a research project on a fish farm. I spent 2 working what had been my childhood dream job, which was at the Vancouver Aquarium as an aquarist. So I did exhibit design and maintenance and tropical Pacific galleries, and worked with fish. And then I wound up working on a research project with these unique seabirds that breed in the forest that I wound up doing a master's on. Wow. So taking opportunities while you were still an undergrad to not only hopefully find opportunities that could pay to at least help you make your way through school, which that definitely helped me too, but getting these work experiences however you can. And there are many opportunities here at the CI campus. With our own program, we help support paid internships as well with ourselves and with other collaborators. I really encourage people to pursue that while you are an undergrad. So you can go ahead to the next slide. So then when I finished up my undergrad in those programs, to go one more, I actually came down to California, but not this far to Southern California. I came to the Bay Area and I did an internship. It's actually a volunteer position with a nonprofit there on the Farallon Islands National Wildlife Refuge. So you can go ahead there. And so these are islands that are located 30 miles to the west of San Francisco along the continental shelf. You can go ahead. These are truly unique. This was the home of the oldest lighthouse on the Pacific coast of North America. We lived in these original lighthouse keepers' houses, the one on the left there, that were built in the 1870s. There's only 3 trees on this island. There's 2 of them, but it's a small, very, very small island, probably like 1/500 the size of Santa Rosa, but incredibly important for significant wildlife population. So you can go ahead. Here's the lighthouse. Used to be this big, huge, beautiful fennel lens on top that got toppled over when it became automated. Actually, you can see up top, there's a webcam housing that we put in that we use with collaborators at the California Academy of Sciences. But you can go ahead, Myra. This is an important area because it's a very productive ocean. So what this figure shows is just the ocean temperature in this region. And again, right in this sort of central blue area is where the Farallon Islands is. And that's the blue is the colder waters, 10 and less degrees Celsius. Wow. And the yellow and red are much warmer. And you can see how this area gets a lot of coastal upwelling. It gets a lot of cool water. This is in the summertime. And a lot of those strong northwest flows that are creating water exchange and marine productivity, which creates food for a lot of marine animals, and the ones that we were monitoring and studying are the ones that come to land to breed. So you can go ahead, Myra. Basically, there's lots of krill in this area that is fed on by things like blue whales, by juvenile fish like these rockfish, and this is a sea bird called the pigeon guillemot, which we see here in Southern California too, bringing a juvenile rockfish to its chick. So you can go ahead. And so we studied a lot of things. This field station has operated and had biologists working there every single day since April of 1968. So one of the things you could do as when you're an intern, and when I found out, we'll get to it, I was an intern there in 1998. Then I went up working there for a long time. You'll find your birthday and see what was happening on the island. So they just passed their over 50-year anniversary of continuous monitoring, many different species of breeding seabirds, 5 species of seals and sea lions. There are great white sharks there. These are the biggest. It's the biggest seabird colony in the contiguous United States. There's important endemic salamanders, unique insects and vegetation. It's actually a place that's had a lot of monitoring of lambirds through time. You can go ahead, and basically this whole island is like divided up into different habitats. This is an artistic depiction of where all the different seabirds breed on the island. Some breed on sheer cliffs, some breed on flat ground, some breed underground. There's hundreds of thousands of seabirds that breed on this island. So it was a really powerful experience for me to be able to, visit a place like this. And you can go ahead, Myra, and see these are the common murres, the most numerous seabirds. There are hundreds of thousands of them. They breed right next to each other. And you can go ahead one more. Oh, go back one. And so this is actually a common murre with its egg. If you look in the lower, you see that bright green. That is the egg that these birds lay directly on the land. These eggs were actually harvested in the gold rush period by people. These populations were driven almost to extinction, down to 6,000 animals. Now in this area, there are over 400,000. So I became really captivated and interested in seabirds. And so an important learning lesson is I had no interest in seabirds growing up, even though I wanted to go into marine biology. I'd seen them my whole life by the ocean. I had no interest, absolutely none. And through this last work term that I did when I was an undergraduate and this initial internship, I realized, hey, these are pretty extraordinary and amazing animals. And maybe I can pursue other opportunities working with them, which I wound up doing in my master's. But before that, you can go ahead. I went from the Farallones as an intern to way out here in the middle of the ocean, which is in the Northwest Hawaiian Islands. And I worked on an island called Laysan Atoll, which is 800 miles northwest of Honolulu.
Wow. And
I was there with 5 people for 4.5 months, and we were monitoring the seabirds, some endemic. There's an endemic species of duck there that is the only place it's found in the world. Actually, they started a new population on Midway from those animals, and we worked a lot with vegetation work, with invasive plant removal from species that had been introduced by during the time when the Navy was out of the island. So I just have a couple slides here. So this is a plane flying over Laysan Atoll. So this is a coral island that has these, these reefs that maybe 5 to probably now it's less than 5 people circle per year, with huge, populations that have never been fished. And there's this hypersaline lake in the middle that the ducks use. And you can go ahead, and there's a lot of animals like this. So these are black-footed albatross. There's this island where there are tens of thousands of this species of albatross, hundreds of thousands of another species that will come. These are birds that will feed here in the California current, come to California, but they breed in these tropical areas. You can go ahead one more. And it was an area where I was first exposed to a wild and amazing. I always wanted to work in a place like this that was like a tropical island in the middle of nowhere. But I have never seen a place more beautiful in my life, and I have never seen as much trash in my life as I saw here. Here's an albatross chick that is surrounded by fishing net, fishing buoys, you name it, imprints from the flip-flop factory. There has been a tremendous amount of marine debris removal on these islands, but it's very difficult to get to. There's some endangered species issues too with some of the seals that are out there, but it was a real wake-up call that I was 23. I spent like 5 months on this tropical island. It was so amazing. And one sort of learning takeaway from this, and I have this in the summary at the end, that the whole reason that I got this position was I was hustling for it, and I was using my networking connection. At that time, these positions, they weren't even advertised. It was like all word of mouth that I learned from someone that I had worked on the Farallones with. And, I think you have to manage how you do this in your career. But I was working a Lambert job in Nova Scotia. I didn't know what I was going to do after that. I heard about this opportunity, and I cold called the refuge manager and said, hey, this is who I am. I'd be interested in some of these long-term things. And it turned out that they had just had someone drop out of the position. We started talking, and I went from Nova Scotia all the way to here in like a
Wow.
5-day period. That was ridiculous. But it's an example that like sometimes, yeah, obviously you have to keep track of those opportunities that are available, but you can use the connections that you make and the experiences that you have to see if you can, find other opportunities that you weren't aware of. So you can go ahead. So this was me when I came back from Lake San Atoll. I'm working on the hair. I'm getting close. But this is with my niece. But like, yeah, I was, doing my best castaway. But it was a truly unique experience in my life that I am so thankful for being able to live in a place like that and start on Reeves and work with really cool people and just have take advantage of an opportunity that was there in front of me. So you can go ahead. So this is the title slide from the presentation, my thesis presentation from my master's. So I went from Hawaii. I literally went right back, and I learned right before I went to Hawaii that I was going to get an opportunity to do a funded master's project, basically on a project that I had done one of those co-op work terms on, which was looking at in the year that I did not work on the project, they got this method to work where they were actually able to radio track these birds that are of high conservation concern, that breed in the ocean, but nest in the old growth forest. And they were looking for a master's student to do this radio telemetry project, which became one of the largest conservation projects in Canada at the time. And so I had the opportunity to be a student on that, to supervise field camps with like up to 14 employees, to fly around in helicopters and do all kinds of amazing things for my master's research. And the kind of takeaway that I threw out in this was I learned at the end of my master's that from the supervising professor's perspective, I was not his first choice. And the reason that I got the master's program was that the project manager who I had worked with when I was an undergrad really lobbied for me and really pushed for me and thought that I did a really good job when I was working there. So I got to do this, this master's project where I learned a lot of skills and really helped advance me in my career. I got to do a lot of things as a master's student that most master's students don't get to do. So I completed that project. That was back in British Columbia, coastal British Columbia. You can go ahead. And then I wound up going back to the Fairlawns. There was a job there as a biologist that became available, and I got that. And I thought that I would be there for 3 years, and I wound up being there for 17 years and became the program manager for that project, and was involved in many aspects of the scientific work there, of research and publications, working a lot with interns in the field, doing everything and anything from administration to educational. Hello, come on in, come on through. Are you just going through here? All right, you're all good. So just talk a little bit about the Fairlawns and also some of the cool things to see in your career. So I worked on the islands as a mostly in the seabird season, but then across many different aspects. But these animals that you're looking at here are called northern fur seals. These are like juveniles, and there's some adults in there. And so these animals are the reason that humans came and occupied the Fairlawns in the early 1800s, and there were in excess of 50,000 fur seals, and they killed them all for the fur sealing, mostly Russian fur sealing operations. And that colony was totally extirpated. And basically, when I started working on the Fairlawns, when I was an intern, there were no fur seals there. And when I started in 2002, come late fall, we had they had just started pupping again, 1996, and there was like 85 pups a year. And so if you advance, we started tracking these animals using aerial flights. We actually had a plane that would open up you could open a door that basically opens in the middle of the plane. If anyone is familiar with the Game of Thrones, the moon door, that's what we had in the middle. Actually, a plane operated by Aspen helicopters from here in Oxnard. And so we would take pictures. And what you see here, you see all these the really dark, small blobs. Those are fur seal pups at the right time of year. And so we were able to count animals that way. And if you go ahead, one more, we have some things from this is a paper that we published on the growth of the fur seals on the Fairlawn Islands in the first 20 years since they recolonized, and we compared that with the growth of the first seals here on San Miguel Island, which were also hunted to extinction, but they resettled from Alaska and Russia in the 1950s and 60s on the Channel Islands. And basically, our colony on the Farallones was completely resettled from Channel Islands animals. And so this has just got, you know, the growth rates of the different colonies, and on the bottom left, the numbers of pups. And it went from whatever, 1 or 2 in 1996 up to over 1,000 in 2006. And now there's like over 220, I think it's like almost 2,400 a year.
Wow.
And so this is just to say that in my time, like I saw this like unbelievable conservation success story that I was part of tracking. And that's, you know, that those opportunities do exist, and that it, you know, it's something, you know, really inspiring for me to be a part of. So you can go to the next slide. And this is just one other paper that I was involved with. And this was, if you look at this seabird that has this, what is a juvenile salmon in its mouth, one of the unique things of doing work at these places is not only tracking how populations change through time, it's about what we can learn from them and how that can inform our greater understanding of the ecosystem. So these birds bring back fish to their chicks. They fly with them into their mouths, and you can actually, when you learn how to do it, you can identify what the actual fish is as they're flying back to the colony, and do other things like if the bird's marked, tell who the individual is, estimate the size of the fish. And what we did here was we looked at using data from the Farallones and the amount of fish, or what, and the amount of fish that these birds are bringing back to their chicks, and how their populations have increased through time, to show that the fish, the forage fish that these birds need to survive and feed their offspring, is very significant. And through time, from the mid 80s to about 2015, increased by about 6 times. And so that's very important when we consider, when we manage fisheries in the ocean. A lot of that has been done primarily about human interests, and, you know, fish that are being, thinking that when we think about the, you know, take of fish from the ocean, we really think about only about our take and the fish that we're removing. And part of what this study showed is that there is these birds are requiring probably way more fish than previously thought. And that if we want to use what's called ecosystem-based management and think about how we manage our fisheries, particularly for something like northern anchovy, which is the blue, which is a very significant part of this diet, which is also fished for by people, the same size classes that the birds are eating. The other rockfish are different, they're eating little tiny juveniles. But we need to consider that. And you can only do that by looking at long-term data and utilizing these important data sets that move through time. So it was a study that I was long involved with in the field, and I think very, very important research, and an important example of how these types of studies can really open our minds and allow us to manage these resources better. So go to one more slide. And so I just, to sort of summarize this up, talk about some of the lessons learned from my own journey. I mentioned these before, but again, there are career opportunities, or there are career opportunities in the field that you're passionate about. So, you know, that if there is something that you truly feel, hey, this is what I'd like to do, but there's no opportunities there. The reality is that there are. They may be very challenging. They may, you know, you're not going to get rich doing them in a lot of different places, but I've had a lot of those opportunities, and a lot of folks I know. My wife runs a research project on penguins in Antarctica for the National Science Foundation. These things can happen to real people, and they all are about working your way through a career path, stage by stage, to get to them. Take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you. Don't, you know, from my own experience, the job experience and the field studies early on were crucial and essential. So there are a lot of these opportunities that are available here at our university. And I would encourage anyone to take advantage of those when they're in front of you. They can have huge impacts as you move along. Hustle and networking go a long way. In your dream job, may never be advertised. Sometimes that definitely happened to me. This is my side comment, which is don't go into debt to do a master's. It's, you know, sometimes sometimes they're very great fits for people to finish their undergraduate degree and go straight into graduate work. And that can be a great fit for them. I encourage folks to try to make sure that they're in the right position and have, that it's the right time for them to pursue those things, that they have a good relationship with a potential supervisor, and that there is, some opportunity for them to have some level of funding for that and not go into massive debt, especially if you have debt already in your undergrad. Another one is you may wind up in a very rewarding career working on something you had never intended to. So this is just from my own experience. I don't know what I thought I would do. Maybe it was, to study as someone who did study killer whales in an interview once, like I wanted to drink beer and chase whales, but realizing that, still within my field of interests, I wound up having all kinds of opportunities to do incredible, rewarding, important work from both a scientific perspective and a conservation perspective in something, working with something that I really thought that I didn't have interest in. So things can ebb and flow, and you can wind up in different places than you initially thought. So I think that's it for me. You can go ahead. That's just my email there. I'm happy to talk to everyone. We encourage everybody both in Zoom and in person as we move through these events this semester to take advantage of the opportunity here. We have great speakers. And again, we're really looking forward to engaging more with the campus with the research station program. We have many day trips with different classes going out. We have these, summer opportunities. We have internship opportunities. If you're interested, please get in touch with us. So that's it from me. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to step in front over here, and yeah, sounds good. And so I'm opening it up. So if anybody has any questions, please, you can unmute the speaker and speak up, or you can type it in the chat. I think I'll be able to look that up and just make sure that I'm reading the chat correctly. But otherwise, I'll keep it on the slide, I think, with Russ's contact info, if anybody wanted to take down his contact info. But yeah, let's just take a moment to see if anybody has questions. I'll walk over and check the chat as well.
For sure.
All right. Haven't seen the chat. All good. From Dr. Matera. I think we're good. Other than that, that is the end of our presentation. So,
yeah,
we can go ahead and end the meeting then. Thank you so much for everybody. Thank you so much for everybody that joined us. And again, stick around or at least stay tuned for our next speaker, which is going to be Xiomara Sendejas, who is going to be speaking on September 21st, I believe. Again, it's every other Tuesday from 5 to 6 o'clock. And these are all going to be archived on our YouTube channel as well. So please share with any of your peers and colleagues as well. I'm going to be reaching out to some of the ESRM and the other 100 classes as well. So this also works for service learning opportunities for students as well. So other than that, thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and then we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.